When I went to prison and they were doing the editing job, they hired another producer to help finish the post-production on it. And this producer had a different vision of the film that we shot, and he cut Sammy Davis out of the film. How do you cut Sammy Davis Jr. out of the film? I was in prison already. When I got out, I did go visit that producer, but unfortunately, he was in really bad health when I finally got a hold of him. But needless to say, my words with him weren't very pretty. Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. Everything is great on this end. Praise God. What are we going to do today? You know, people ask me about the movie Knights of the City quite often. It's a great story, I think. It's a unique way of making a film, I can tell you this. But let me tell you what happened. Knights of the City was a film I produced back in 1984. How did it come about? Smokey Robinson, who was a good friend at the time, Leon Isaac Kennedy, star at that time, married to Jane Kennedy. They came to me with a screenplay for a breakdance movie. A lot of music, a lot of dance, a lot of rap music, but that's when you can listen to rap music on the radio, not like today. Forget about this stuff today, but back then it was cool. We had Curtis Blow, the Sugar Hill Gang, Run DMC, the Fat Boys, old school rap. I like that stuff, right? So they come to me and they said, you know what, guys, I'll make the movie, but let's film it in Florida. Got a house down there, like the warm weather, let's do it down there. So we film it in Florida. And I bring in cast and crew from LA to work in the film. I bring in 17 or 18, I think, professional dancers. One of them, young girl that I ended up marrying, my wife 37 years later. And we make this film in South Florida, both in Miami, mostly in Dade and Broward County, right? And it was kind of a gang type of film, you know, two gangs that came together, kind of like a West Side Story version that takes place in South Florida. I even had Sammy Davis Jr. in the film. And you know, it's funny, Sammy wouldn't take any money from me. He played an old gangster that was trying to teach the younger guys how not to be in a gang, right? Good story. Anyway, he wouldn't take any money from me. I kept saying Sammy, because I knew him way back. My dad was friends with him. I knew him from, you know, way back when I was a kid. And I said, Sammy, I'm going to give you something. So actually what I did, I gave him a gold watch because he loved that kind of bling and he was happy. He did a great job in the film, but I got to tell you the rest of that story. So anyhow, we make this film, and I'm going to be honest with you. I had a huge gas operation, me and Aya Rizzo and a lot of guys back in South Florida. As a matter of fact, I got indicted later on for that. I think they said we robbed, I don't know, $90 million, something like that. I don't remember the number at this point in time. But anyway, I'm going to be honest with you. I was financing that film with stolen gas tax money. And the budget was about $2.5 million, something to that degree. We wrapped the film. Filming went great. It was terrific. Sammy did his job. Smokey was in the film, wrote some music. It was great, right? We wrapped the film, and now I'm going to have a big rap party. You know, you throw a big party at it. I mean, it's common in the industry. So we actually get this skating rink. You know, we put this rink together and we have this beautiful party. I had Muhammad Ali there and a whole bunch of celebrities came down that night, right? My publicist that normally handled everything for us, well, he wasn't there that day, he was sick, so we had another publicist. They tell me that we have an interview with NBC. So I sit down, you know, to have the interview, and the guy starts talking the normal way. This is during the rap party. And all of it was me and Jerry Zimmerman again. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he says, so Michael, how does it feel to be a major capo regime in the Colombo crime family? I knew right at that point I had gotten sabotaged, right? Jerry got a little crazy. He jumped up, he ran out of the set. And I sat there and I answered all the questions calmly. But I knew, you know, we got sideswiped on that one. Earlier that night, I mean, I got all sorts of honors. You know, the mayor of the city of Miami actually gave me the key to the city. And the reason he gave it to me is because all the gangbangers that we had in the film, I'll tell you what happened. I set up shop in a bad spot in Miami. It was a bad spot, gang-related spot. And I got a hold of the local gangbanger, the leader of the gang, and I said, come here, I want to talk to you. I brought him to me and I said, look, we're going to be filming on this set. We're going to use some of you guys as extras. We got a food truck here. You're going to meet Sammy Davis. You're going to meet Leon Kennedy. You're going to meet Smokey Robinson. I said, you can all be in the film because we need you as extras. But here's the deal. One fight, one thing goes down, you guys are out of here. Some of you may get hurt if you get me mad enough. I said, and you'll never have an opportunity like this again. I said, you want to be in the film? I said, and the other thing, you got to go to school. If I hear that you guys are playing hooky, you don't show up, you're out of the film. I got to tell you this, the reason I got the key to the city is because the mayor said he never saw school attendance that well from this group of kids. And everything, they were great. They just loved the experience, which showed me when you give kids something that they can really hold on to, maybe fulfill a dream, give them hope, give them guidance, that they respond to it in a big way. I had them all at the rap party too. You know, it was from that point on that I started talking to kids because I saw the impact that we had on them. Anyway, they give me the key to the city. The Pope or a bishop in Rome sent me a Bible blessed by the Pope. I mean, I was getting all sorts of honors. And then, boom, I get hijacked by this NBC reporter. That went national. It was national news. The poor mayor, I felt so bad because he felt like, I didn't know this guy was, an organized crime guy. We don't go and advertise that. So it was a crazy experience. We finished the film, right? We edited it, we finished the film. Just before it was ready to come out, I get indicted. And the government, as part of my indictment, it was a racketeering indictment, they actually confiscate the film. They confiscated the film. And they brought it into their office and they wouldn't let us distribute the film, right? We spent $2.5, $3 million, whatever it was. So when I started to get into my plea negotiation on the case that I eventually took a plea on, I was in the office with the prosecutors and my lawyer, and I said, what are you going to do with the film? Well, we don't know. I said, well, you don't know what to do with it. You're not going to be able to do anything. There's $2.5 million in value. The film may make $10 million, it may make $5 million. I don't know what it's going to make, but let's make a deal. Let's split it. You take some, I'll take some. Well, they didn't like that. I knew they weren't going to like that, but I knew they would give me a percentage. So I said, look, whatever percentage we arrive on, I think they got 80%, I got 20%. But they allowed me to take the film back and then eventually distribute it. And we distributed it through New World Distribution at that point in time. The film went on to make a few bucks. And that's how it ended. And, I had my plea. You guys know that. I had a 10-year prison sentence, a $15 million restitution. I go off to do my time. There was no cooperation whatsoever involved in that plea agreement. And yes, you're allowed to take a plea when you're in that life if it's a better deal. I want you to know this. They started out in that plea agreement, they wanted a $100 million fine and a 25-year prison sentence. Over the course of 3 months, we negotiated it down to $15 million fine and restitution and a 10-year prison sentence, and that was doable for me, and that's the deal that I took. Again, no cooperation, it's a matter of record. Now I got to give you a side note to this film, which was very, very upsetting to me. When I went to prison and they were doing the editing job, they hired another producer to help finish the post-production on it. And this producer had a different vision of the film that we shot, and he cut Sammy Davis out of the film. How do you cut Sammy Davis Jr. out of the film? I was in prison already. When I found out about it, I was so embarrassed and I felt so bad because he wouldn't even take money from me that I called him up and I said, Sammy, I just found out they cut you out of the film. I don't know what to say. I said, I ever get my hands on that producer when I get out of here. And he said, Michael, you got other things to worry about. You're in prison. Don't worry. He was so gracious and so kind. I love Sammy. I really did. He was one of a kind, gracious, wonderful human being. I felt so bad, but he was so gracious. He said, you got your own troubles. Get through that prison time. Let's go out, have a drink, and have dinner. He said, I'll appreciate that more than anything else. But can you imagine cutting Sammy Davis out of the film? I want to tell you something. When I got out, I did go visit that producer, but unfortunately, he was in really bad health when I finally got a hold of him. But needless to say, my words with him weren't very pretty. But he had his own problems at that point. Hey, that's life. Anyway, cut Sammy Davis out of a film. I don't get it. So that's it for today. Just thought it was an interesting story. People ask me all the time about that movie and about, the mob's involvement in that business. So that's my experience. And again, went on to make a lot more movies after that. So that's it for today. MichaelFranzese.com. Again, join the crew. You're missing out. Join the inner circle. Zoom calls, content that we're putting in there, workshops that we're putting in there, all the skills that we're teaching everybody, and the networking that's going on is phenomenal. People are actually getting into business with one another. They're bonding there. It's unbelievable. MichaelFranzese.com. We have really strong visions of what this is going to grow into. We have thousands of people already involved. Subscribe. I appreciate it. We're really getting up in the numbers. You subscribe, you get alerts first. We keep trying to put good content in there. And thank you so much for the messages and comments that I get. Some of you are just great. Others, you accept the good with the bad. But for the most part, the comments and the messages are great. They're very encouraging. And me and my team, who work so hard to put this together, really appreciate it. So that's it for today. How do I always leave you? Same way, very consistent. Be safe, be healthy. God bless you and your families and everybody that you care about. And yes, I will see you next time. Take care.